Hi there, folks. This is Sean Broderick for the Oxford Club, and I'm here speaking to Daniel Carlson. He is the CFO of American Sands Energy Corporation. Very interesting company, not in production yet, but they have a very interesting project in Utah that they are working through the process of bringing it online. And it's not revolutionary, it's kind of evolutionary what they're doing with the oil sands there. They're actually going to mine oil sands in a way that hasn't been done here in North America anyway, so far. Isn't that right?
Correct.
All right. So, Mr. Carlson's going to speak to us just to explain what his company is doing there. Could you please speak to my subscribers?
Sure. Thanks for having me here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first off, we have what's called wet oil sands. So we have a evolutionary process, as you said, where we mine the sand up. Doesn't have any water in it. So we have a mining process where at the end of mining, we have a sand that's black like this.
Mm-hmm.
We run through a solvent recovery system, and we get clean sand out at the end along with bitumen. So there's no byproducts. And one of the keys for us there's a few keys to our business, but one of the keys for us is that we are a water-free process. So we don't have any water in the sand, and we don't use any water in our process. There's no steam involved, etc. So at the end of the day, it's a relatively benign project from an environmental standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, it's a huge asset, right?
The asset that we're working on, we control 150 million barrels. And to put that in perspective, at 5,000 barrels a day, it's going to last beyond my lifetime. But the total asset that we're working with is 1.1 billion barrels, and that's a P50 proven resource. Initially, the project was drilled out by the Chevron Corporation, then subsequently by Amoco. So we have about 40 million in historical money spent on drilling that we have access to the information.
Mm-hmm. Now, currently you are working through the permitting process. That should be done by the end of next year, right? And then what kind of production are you guys actually planning to do?
Well, so we filed our permit on March 6th of this year, and to clarify, we expect our permit to be issued by the end of this year.
Oh, sorry.
So,
my mistake.
So hopefully by year end we are permitted, and quite frankly, it's possible much sooner than year end, maybe as early as September.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we would then be going into production, and it takes 12 to 18 months from permitting to get through the whole setup and of the facilities, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
and get in production. And once we're in production, we expect to produce at 5,000 barrels a day. And unlike traditional drilling, we are a mining operation, so we can feed the process at 5,000 barrels per day. So we know what we will be producing once we're in production.
And then once you're in production, you'll use your cash flow and you'll really boost your production. Isn't that right?
Well, we have a phase 2 of production that will probably be about 3 to 5 years after we're in production. And that would take us to 50,000 barrels a day, which is a substantial increase. We think we can pay for that out of cash flow and out of debt at that time. So we think once we are in production, we'll be fully funded at that point. We do need to raise money to go into production.
Right.
But subsequent to that, we can certainly increase to 50,000 barrels a day with other financing methods.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I found interesting is that not only will the product you sell be replacing the stuff coming down from Canada, but also you have a cost advantage over those companies up in Canada. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we sell to refineries as part of their blend, and refineries typically have light oil in the blend and a heavy crude that they use to combine to hit with their ideal blend that they're configured for.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we would be selling into Salt Lake City refineries. They're currently importing Canadian bitumen, which we are a direct comp with. We're lower sulfur than them, but at the end of the day, you can sort of mix our product into the refineries in lieu of the Canadian oil sand bitumen.
Mm-hmm. And it was a fascinating process that you described, and I'm actually going to have to put up a chart of this. You mine the sand, and then you actually put it into this a tank with a solution in it, and then the oil precipitates out, or actually floats to the top. The sand comes out the bottom. You wash that 4 times, and then you can put that sand right back in the ground. Isn't that right?
Right. So that's exactly right. We use a solvent solution to basically, we consider ourselves a large sand cleaning operation. So as I said, we mine the sand. It comes out, as I showed in the vial here, black sand that is ground up in the mining process and is put into a very large container containing solvent. The bitumen is basically washed off of the sand and floats to the surface, and the sand sinks to the bottom of the container. Now, we do take the sand and run it through the process 4 different times. It's the same process each time, but we would try to get 100 or as close to 100% removal of bitumen from the sand as possible. So by the time it's done at the end of the 4 washes, it's basically less than 2 parts per million of solvent or bitumen left on it, and it is reclamation ready, so it can be stuck back into the ground. We heat the sand under solvent heat it under vacuum to extract our solvent and reuse it in the process. We also heat the bitumen that we get to a level where it becomes free-flowing, but also at that temperature, which is about 300 degrees Fahrenheit, our solvent has evaporated. We heat it under vacuum, and we recapture solvent. So at the end of the day, we get bitumen on one hand, clean sand on the other, and our solvent solution is recycled through the process.
That's all the points that I wanted to cover. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I just would like to reiterate that we have a substantial asset of 150 million barrels, and a chance to increase that to larger size by acquiring additional barrels next to us, and a water-free process that should be easy to permit in the state of Utah and is, is environmentally benign. And we hope to be, as I said, in production and cash flow generating within a couple of years.
Okay, folks, we'll take a closer look at this company. Looks really interesting. This is Sean Bartek for the Oxford Club. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for speaking to my subscribers.
Thank you, Sean.